God bless the soul who saved us, Pastor Rowland said, holding up the check like it was the very bread of heaven. Anonymous. But they've given enough to cover the loan, the roof repair, and 2 years of utilities. Applause broke out like thunder. I clapped too, half out of habit, half trying to catch my breath, because I knew something no one else did. When he turned the check toward the light, just briefly before tucking it back in his Bible, I saw the name in the corner. The name printed in blue ink, soft but stubborn. Doris May Cantrell. My maiden name. I hadn't used it in over 40 years, not since the day I signed it away to become Doris Henley, wife to Richard, mother to Miranda, keeper of this modest little life. My hand curled tighter around the keychain in my purse, a brass treble clef charm, worn smooth at the edges. Richard had given it to me the week we joined this church. Said music made the house feel alive. No one here knew I used to be Cantrell. I'd buried that name like a secret under my skin. So who knew it well enough to sign it? I turned my head, scanning the sanctuary. Same old faces, Miss Lila fanning herself in the third pew, Jerome adjusting his hearing aid, the choir girls with their satin sashes. And then I saw her, back row, far left. A woman with gray curls, long fingers, dark coat despite the heat. She met my gaze and, God help me, nodded. Not a smile, not a wave, just a small, knowing nod, as if to say, "You saw it too." I blinked, and she was gone. The choir struck up "How Great Thou Art," but I couldn't join in. I just kept hearing that old name, echoing like a hymn I used to sing before life made me forget the words. And when I reached into my purse again, the keychain was warm, too warm, like someone had held it. I didn't rush out after the benediction. I lingered, slow walking the edge of the foyer, with a paper cup of lukewarm coffee, watching faces. Louise caught up with me by the bulletin board. "You believe that? An anonymous donor paying off the church? Someone's got deep pockets and no ego." I forced a smile. "Miracles don't always come with signatures." She laughed and patted my arm. "If you ever decide to be generous, Doris, just spell my name right on the check." I nodded, but my heart wasn't in it. Outside, the sun hit me like a wall. October in Mississippi can't decide if it's fall or midsummer. I walked slowly toward my car, keys already in hand. And then I saw it, a yellow envelope tucked under my wiper blade. No name on the front, just 3 block letters in faded blue ink. DMC. My breath caught. I looked around. 2 cars pulling out. Teenagers loading a guitar into a trunk. Mrs. Simmons trying to coax her dachshund out of the shade. No one looking at me. I slid the envelope free, heart thudding. Inside, a single sheet of paper, thin, cheap stock, typewritten like from an old machine. "You left something behind in 1979. Now it's time to remember." That year hit me like a slap. 1979, the year before I married Richard. The last time I ever saw Gloria Rains. Gloria with her bright hair, her freckled hands, her laugh that sounded like church bells and rebellion rolled into one. Gloria, who died in a house fire off Highway 22, or that's what the paper said. That's what everyone believed, but she had called me DMC, not Doris, never Doris. My fingers shook as I folded the letter and slid it back in. Then I caught a flicker, just past the hydrangea hedge at the edge of the lot. A shoulder, a quick motion, too fast to tell who, too slow to forget. I didn't chase. I just stood there, the envelope pressed to my chest, wondering how a ghost could write in perfect type. I didn't turn the lights on when I got home, just let the amber dusk settle into the house like an old guest who knew their way around. The front hall smelled like lemon polish and old paper. I slid off my shoes, the envelope still in my pocket, and moved toward the stairs like I was sleepwalking. In the attic, it was cooler. Dust danced in the window slant like slow-motion snow. I knew exactly which box to pull. It was the one Richard never opened, marked linens, but filled with things I'd folded away after our wedding. The old me, the parts I wasn't supposed to carry forward. Halfway down the stack, I found it. A Polaroid, faded and curling at the edges. 2 women on a train step, arms looped, grinning like fools. one in bell-bottoms and a paisley shirt, one in a summer dress with wild curls. Me and Gloria Rains. On the back, in ink that had barely faded, "Don't forget who you are, G." I hadn't forgotten. I'd buried it. In the name of being a good wife, a good mother, a good Christian. I stared at that photo until my knees ached from crouching. Then the landline rang. I hadn't heard that ring in days. I let it go once, twice. On the third ring, I picked up. "Hello?" Silence, then a sound, soft and steady, like the hiss of old cassette tape. My spine locked. I didn't move. Then a voice. "Do you remember Biloxi?" Just 5 words, whispered like a secret prayer. I dropped the phone. It hit the carpet with a soft thud. The line stayed open, humming like it knew things I didn't. Biloxi. I hadn't said that word in 40 years, not since the night that changed everything. I told myself I was just driving, no plan, no bags, no one to answer to. The sky was pewter gray, and the road hummed beneath my tires like it had missed me. I hadn't been to Biloxi in decades. The town looked different, shinier in places, more cracked in others. But certain things hadn't changed. The blue-roofed gas station where Gloria once bought us cherry sodas still leaned slightly to the left. The arcade was gone, but the pier still stretched into the water like it was waiting for someone who'd never come back. I followed the coast road by instinct, and there it was, a gray shack, slumped near a line of dunes. Sea oats danced in the breeze like they remembered. The mailbox was rusted through, but beneath it, pinned under a stone, was a note. "Thursdays still matter. Come inside." My heart lodged in my throat. We used to meet on Thursdays. That summer, when the world felt like a hallway with only one door, before I chose the one marked normal. The front door creaked open with barely a push. Inside, the air was cedar and salt. Light slanted through dusty lace curtains. Magazines dated 1978 were stacked on the coffee table. A record player sat on a sideboard, needle hovering mid-spin on a Carole King album. I stepped inside. Each footfall thudded like a memory. In the corner, on the back of a wooden chair, hung a pale blue sweater. My sweater, the one I'd lent Gloria on a rainy night in July. She'd joked that it smelled like dryer sheets and fear. I reached for it, fingertips grazing the fabric. Behind me, a floorboard groaned. Not mine, someone else's. I turned, slow and careful, and saw a figure just past the curtain. Part shadow, part memory, all impossibility. She stepped through the curtain like someone half real. Not Gloria. Too young. Late 30s, maybe. Dark hair pulled back, jeans and a faded tee. But her eyes, they were shaped like Gloria's. That almond tilt. That steady, seeing kind of gaze. "I didn't mean to scare you," she said, voice soft as dust. I gripped the chair to stay upright. "Who are you?" She gave a tentative smile. "Marin Rains, Gloria's niece." I stared at her. Gloria died in 1980. Marin shook her head. "No, she died 2 months ago. Breast cancer. Peacefully. In this house." My knees nearly buckled. I sat, hard, on the edge of the couch. But the fire? A friend helped stage it. It was the only way she could disappear. She had reasons. My throat tightened. "Why are you telling me now?" Marin reached into her canvas bag and pulled out a red notebook. Worn, elastic, barely holding. She placed it gently in my lap. "She left this for you. Said you'd come when you were ready." I touched the cover with trembling hands. "She wrote you letters," Marin added. "All these years. She never stopped." I opened to the first page. A dried dogwood flower slipped out and landed in my lap. Dogwood. Our tree. The one by the lake where we carved G+D on a spring day so green it hurt the eyes. My vision blurred. Marin sat across from me, quiet, respectful. "She wanted you to have the truth, but you're not the only one she left something for." I looked up. Marin's voice dropped. Someone else has been coming around. Man, mid-60s. Says he knew her back then. Keeps asking about the notebook. I closed the cover. And I knew. It could only be one person. The house felt different when I came back, like it knew I wasn't the same woman who'd left it. I locked the door, drew the curtains, and set the red notebook on the kitchen table beside the dogwood bloom. My fingers hovered over the cover. Then I opened it. The first page was dated May 17th, 1980. My darling DMC, you probably think I'm dead. Maybe that's for the best. But I couldn't leave this world without telling you the truth. Her penmanship was neat, curled at the edges like she'd tried to sound casual and failed. Each letter was a memory, a confession. She wrote about our last kiss behind the Amtrak station, about tracing my laugh into her pillow long after I'd gone, about the shack, the blue sweater, the way she pretended to sleep through sirens some nights because she thought she'd made a mistake running, and then, buried halfway through the book, someone knew. I saw it in his face the day he returned your sweater. He didn't say it, but I felt it. He knew. I went cold. Richard. He had brought that sweater back after a church picnic. Said it was in the back of my car. I'd lied, told him it was my cousin's. But he knew. The memory slid into focus, the way he looked at me that day. Soft, sad, like he'd lost something and didn't want to say what. My feet moved before my mind caught up. I climbed the stairs, flung open the top drawer of my jewelry box. There it was, a folded slip of paper, yellowed with time. He'd handed it to me 2 days before his heart gave out. Said, "Keep it. Open it when you need it." I never had the nerve. Until now. I unfolded it. 5 words, written in his blocky, careful hand. "I know. I forgive you." My heart buckled. And in that moment, I felt like every version of myself, daughter, wife, lover, was sitting in the room with me, watching me finally read the truth. The air in the house felt too still, like even the walls were holding their breath. I sat with the red notebook in my lap, Gloria's last pages calling me back in. One line near the end stood out in her slanted ink. "If the world never gave us space, I made one. Unit 19B, Westview Storage, under the name Dottie M. Clay. I kept what they told us to forget." I ran my fingers over the words. Dottie M. Clay, a name she made from mine, from us. I called the number printed beside it. A young man answered, said the unit still existed, prepaid for 50 years. I asked what he needed to verify ownership. "Just an ID," he said. I hesitated. "What if the name's different now?" "Just sign the log when you arrive. If your name matches the file, you're good." I hung up and stared at the phone. Then I went. The Westview facility sat off a quiet road, tucked behind a shuttered diner. The lobby smelled like citrus cleaner and old carpet. I signed the logbook with shaking fingers. D.M. Cantrell. The attendant flipped through a folder, nodded once, and pointed down the hall. "Second left, code's the birth year." I punched in 1946. The door clunked open. Unit 19B was small, neat. A cot, a little lamp, 4 boxes stacked like altars. 2 were marked DMC. 1 said, "For later." The 4th box sat at the back. No label, just dust. I opened the top box first. Cassette tapes. Dozens. Each labeled with a year, 1980, 1981, 1982, through to 2007. Then, silence. I picked up the second box. A sealed envelope. My name in blue ink. And a key. Small, brass, identical to the one I'd worn around my neck in college. I reached for it. And froze. A voice behind me. Low. Male. "You shouldn't be here." He stood just inside the threshold, the metal door behind him still easing shut with a long sigh. I said, "You shouldn't be here," he repeated. Not threatening, just worn out. I straightened slowly, holding the key like it was a match. "I have permission," I said, voice tight. "I know," he replied. "That's why I didn't stop you. He stepped into the light. Silver hair, deep lines around his eyes, a faint scar at the corner of his chin, like a boyhood accident he never explained. "You're Gloria's?" "Ellis," he said. "Her brother, younger, though life closed that gap fast." I didn't move. "She never said—" "She kept me out of most things," he said gently. "But near the end, she talked, just enough to make me promise I'd keep watch." "For what?" "People," he said, glancing around the unit. "This place, these boxes, you." My knees wanted to fold. "She told you about me?" He nodded, and from his jacket pulled a photograph. I reached for it with shaking hands. Gloria, years older, stood beside a dogwood tree, the same one from our spring. Our initials were still visible, deepened, not faded. "She walked out there every Thursday," Ellis said. "Even after the pain started, said it made her feel honest." I wiped my eyes. "Why are you here now?" His face darkened. "Someone else came sniffing. Said he was kin. He's not. Asked about tapes, your name, the notebook." That sent a chill down my back. "Did he get in?" "No. I told the clerk to flag him. He hasn't come back." I looked down at the key in my hand. What had Gloria left? Ellis tilted his head. "You sure you want to know everything? She wrote things down for a reason, but she also kept some things quiet." "I loved her," I said simply. He nodded. "Then open carefully." The stereo protested at first, dust in the speakers, old wires cranky from disuse. But when the tape clicked in and began to turn, it was like opening a locked room inside my chest. Her voice filled the kitchen, softer than I remembered, lower, like years had taught her to speak only to herself. March 3rd, 1981. It's been 1 year since I disappeared. I still can't sleep without thinking of you, Dee. I whisper your name into the dark, just to hear it. I sat down, hard. She talked about the shack, about the silence, about the ocean swallowing her name and spitting out something new. "Every Thursday I light a candle and write you a letter. They're all in the red notebook. I imagine you with your hair up, frowning as you read. God, I miss that." Then her tone shifted. "There's a man. Keeps showing up at the diner near the dunes, brown coat, smells like aftershave and bad secrets. Asked if I knew anything about a girl who used to sing in Biloxi." My breath caught. Biloxi again. I reached for the wedding photo album, pulled it from the top shelf, dusty and stiff. Page after page of staged smiles. Richard in his tux. Me in the cream suit my mother hated. Then the Biloxi trip. A blurred shot of the hotel entrance. Another of us at the beach. In both, background, barely noticeable, a man. Same trench coat, same stillness, same eyes. I didn't know him, but he knew me. And now, after all these years, I was starting to wonder, had he ever stopped watching? The church felt colder than usual, not in temperature, just in spirit. The light from the stained glass barely reached the pews this time of day. I found Pastor Rowland straightening hymnals. "Can I ask you something?" I said quietly. He looked up, surprised. "Of course, Sister Henley." I paused. "Has anyone asked about me? Or about someone named Cantrell?" His brow furrowed. "Last week, a man did come by. Said he was researching former choir members. Asked if we had records from the 70s. Wanted to know who sang solos back then." My stomach flipped. "Did he give a name?" "No. He asked if the donor, your donation, was from that same Doris. I told him we don't disclose anything about anonymous giving. He didn't push, just nodded and left." "What did he look like?" "Tall, pale, gray coat. Something about his smile made me uneasy, like he already knew the answers." I left quickly, heart racing. At home, I went straight for the last box from Gloria's storage. The one marked "for later." Inside, just 2 items. A photo of a motel bed. The headboard worn, initials faintly carved into the wood. G+D. And a bus ticket stub. Dated March 5, 1980. Biloxi to Asheville. My heart seized. That was the night I packed a bag, then unpacked it. The night I chose Richard. The night I told no one, not even Gloria. She had waited. Attached to the photo was a note in her handwriting. This was supposed to be our start. I waited. I sank into the armchair, the note slipping from my hand. I had no idea who else knew, but someone did. Room 6 looked tired, paint peeling at the edges, window rattling with every gust from the Gulf, but it was still standing. I pushed the door open. No one stopped me. The front desk was unmanned, just a handwritten sign. Call if it's urgent. Inside, the headboard was just like in the photo, carved, worn, barely legible. G+D. I touched the grooves. So shallow now, like the wood had tried to forget. Behind me, a knock. I turned to see a woman, mid-50s in slippers, hair wrapped in a faded scarf. She blinked at me cautiously. "Can I help you?" "I used to stay here," I said, voice barely steady. "A long time ago. I'm just visiting." She stepped inside, nodding slowly. "I'm Inez. Been renting this room 10 years. Headboard's got some stories." I hesitated. "Has anyone else asked about it?" She looked me over, then nodded. 3 weeks back, man, said he was a writer researching the area. Showed me a photo of you." My throat tightened. "Me?" "From years ago. Hair up, holding hands with another woman on a beach." She paused. "He offered cash. Wanted to know if you'd been here. Asked about tapes." "What did you tell him?" "That I don't talk to men with accents and money and too many questions." She smiled, thin and tired. "He left a name, though, Mr. Barron." The name hit me like a cold slap. Barron, my grandmother's last name. Not something anyone outside the family would know. Inez tilted her head. "That name means something?" But I was already backing toward the door. I needed air, distance. When I reached my car, I stopped dead. Tucked under the wiper blade, another envelope. Inside, a bus ticket stub. Same date, same route. But this one had a message typed across the top. "You never got on." The drive back felt like a tunnel. No music, no thoughts. Just the sound of tires slicing the road and the forged ticket burning a hole in my coat pocket. "You never got on." He knew. He knew everything. Back home, I went straight to the stereo, popped in a tape labeled 1986. Gloria's voice was different, quieter, weightier, like the years had pressed her flat. "March 12th, 1986. I nearly ran today. Again. Someone's leaving notes at the diner. Not threats, just strange things. Words only you used to say to me, like a breadcrumb trail I didn't drop." I paused the tape. My stomach flipped. She continued. "One of the notes was signed Peach Pit. Only one person ever called me that, and I never wrote it down." My hands went clammy. That was my name for her, from a night in Georgia when we shared a bottle of peach schnapps on a fire escape. "If someone knows about that," Gloria said, "then they're watching more than just me. Be careful who opens your mail. D." I stood up too fast. The room spun. My desk drawer, bottom left, where I'd stashed years of cards and notes. I tore through the pile. And there it was. A birthday card from 1997. No signature. No return name. Just an address in Savannah. Inside, a pressed dogwood. And the words, "It's not too late." I'd dismissed it back then. Thought it was from a student. A mistake. But the typeface, the way the envelope was folded, it matched the one from my windshield. I walked to the front window. Across the street, leaning against a white utility truck, was a man. Average height, ball cap low, but when I looked directly at him, he glanced away too fast. I stepped back, closed the curtain, and for the first time in years, I locked every door in the house. The slam of the mailbox woke me. Not wind, not accident, deliberate. I crept to the window, heart hammering. A figure walked briskly down the street, hands deep in coat pockets. No limp, no rush, just practiced calm. I waited 5 full minutes before opening the door. Inside the box, one envelope. No stamp, no return address, just my name, typed. Back in the kitchen, I opened it with trembling fingers. A newspaper clipping. Yellowed, photocopied. Local teacher misses wedding day. Police search for runaway bride. The photo was unmistakable. My engagement picture. Hair tight, smile tighter. The article was a lie. I hadn't run. Not really. I'd sat on the edge of my bed for hours that morning, bag packed, ticket folded in my hand, waiting for a sign. By the time I stood, the bus had gone, and so had Gloria. I remembered how my mother spun it. A family emergency, the kind that needed public cover. I thought the story had died there, but someone had kept it, circulated it, sent it back to me like a threat in grayscale. I unfolded the second page, typed, neat, chilling. Truth has a cost. Be sure you're ready to pay it. My chest burned. Then, click. The lights flickered, went out. Silence swallowed the house. Then the landline rang, once, sharp, jarring. Then nothing. I didn't breathe, just stood, listening to the sound of my own blood. Then I moved, grabbed my purse, the red notebook, locked the door behind me. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't stay. I didn't plan to go there, but my hands turned the wheel like they remembered something my head had long buried. The house stood just off Bell Creek Road, cloaked in ivy and gilt. Windows boarded, porch sagging, but it was still standing. My childhood home. I parked in the grass, heart pounding like I was breaking curfew. The side porch window had no glass, just a curtain flapping like breath. Inside, the air was thick with mildew and silence. Floorboards moaned under every step as I moved through the skeleton of my past. Wallpaper peeling in strips. My father's armchair still facing the radio. Then my room. The floral curtains hung limp. The mirror was cracked. But the closet, when I opened it, smelled the same. A shoebox waited in the corner. DMC, scrawled in faded marker. I sat cross-legged on the floor and opened it. Inside, folded notes, poems I'd written in the margins of school books, letters to Gloria I never sent, pressed leaves, doodles of hands holding hands. Then, something out of place. A postcard, glossy, a photo of a Key West shoreline, sunset bleeding into ocean. I turned it over. You were never invisible. No signature, no initials. The postmark said 1992. I swallowed hard. That was during the years Gloria went completely silent. I thought she'd moved on, forgotten. I turned it back over, then noticed something faint on the corner. A watermark, barely there. Department of Justice. Not printed, embedded in the paper. My mouth went dry. Had someone intercepted this? Was it meant for me, or meant to be found now? The silence in the house shifted, like it too was holding secrets. I drove straight to Marin's apartment, the postcard burning a hole in my coat pocket. She met me at the door, barefoot and blinking. You okay? I need you to see something. At her kitchen table, I slid the card toward her. She turned it over, read it, frowned. I know this beach, she said. Gloria lived in Key West for a while, early 90s, but I never saw this. I tapped the back. Look closely. That watermark. Department of Justice. Her eyes widened. She got up, returned with a soft pencil and a sheet of thin paper. Used to do this with my mom's old checks, she murmured. She gently rubbed the edge of the postcard. Slowly, faint impressions surfaced. A string of numbers, a box number, and a code. DMC 9W. Marin sat back. That's not random. I stared at it, heart rattling in my ribs. She opened one of Gloria's last journals, flipped to a page from 92. A single sentence, scrawled fast. If they find this, they'll find her, not me. I hope that's enough. It knocked the air out of me. Gloria had left a trail, not to protect herself, but to shield me. Why would the DOJ be watching? I asked. Marin's voice dropped. Gloria told me once, someone high up tried to silence her, not for what she did, but for who she loved. My throat tightened. What if this goes deeper than just hiding? I whispered. What if we were never just hiding from family? Marin looked at me carefully. I think someone powerful cared what you two meant to each other, she said. And maybe they still do. I opened the red notebook again, flipped past the letters I'd read, found a page tucked near the end. Just one question. What would you do if love became dangerous again? I didn't have the answer, but I had the feeling I'd need one soon. The postal place was easy to miss, wedged between a bait shop and a rundown insurance office, just off Route 17. A bell jingled when we stepped inside. The air smelled like dust and plastic wrap. A woman behind the counter looked up over bifocals. Help you? We're looking for information about an old P.O. box, I said. From the 90s, box 218. Her eyes narrowed, calculating. Name? D.M. Cantrell, I said. Then, because the truth had teeth now. Or Baron. Something flickered across her face. Not surprise, recognition. She motioned us to follow her to a back room lined with dusty ledgers. Flipping to 1994, she tapped a column, box 218. Beside it, a note in careful cursive. Hold until retrieved by DMC or Baron only. The name echoed through my chest like a lost bell. Baron again. She disappeared into the storage closet. When she returned, she held out a thick envelope, edges yellowed, seal broken, but intact. He never came back for it, she said. Inside, a photograph. Gloria and me, laughing mid-spin at the county fair. It wasn't staged. We never posed like that. Someone had taken it without us knowing. There was more. At the bottom of the envelope, wrapped in tissue. A cassette, black plastic, white label. Confession, 3/5/80. The night I chose Richard. The night Gloria waited with a bag packed and 2 tickets in hand. I looked at Marin. Her mouth was set, her eyes soft. It's time, she said. We needed to hear what Gloria never got to say aloud, before someone else tried to silence it for good. Marin's living room was quiet, except for the soft hum of the old tape deck. I slid the cassette in, pressed play. Static first, then a breath, then her voice. If you didn't come, I won't blame you. But I need to tell the truth somewhere, even if no one hears it. My hands clenched in my lap. They came to me 2 days after you told me you were thinking of staying. An older man. He said he knew about the motel, about Biloxi, about you. Her voice cracked. He said your career, your family, even your safety, they'd all vanish if I didn't disappear. He said, Washington doesn't forget. Marin shot me a look, but I couldn't speak. He handed me 2 bus tickets, one for me, one for Leverage, said I could leave clean if I never contacted you again. The sound of her breathing filled the silence. I didn't want to go, but I knew they were watching you. I thought maybe, if I vanished, you'd be safe. Her voice broke into sobs, then static, then a click. The tape ended. We sat there for a long time. Marin finally whispered, Who had that kind of power? My mind was already somewhere else. My father. That same winter, he closed his law office out of nowhere, said it was time to serve a bigger cause, flew to D.C. for a week, came back pale, quiet. He started locking his study, watching me longer than needed. I hadn't questioned it back then, but now Now I was beginning to understand exactly what favor he'd done. The attic smelled like mothballs and memory. Dust danced in shafts of light as I pulled the tarp off my father's old file cabinet. It still stood tall, military gray, like it didn't believe in secrets, only silence. The top drawer had always been locked. I took out the brass key from Gloria's box, pressed it in, click. Inside, rows of folders lined like obedient soldiers, no family photos, no legal papers. Just tabs labeled in code. One caught my eye. Cantrell DM, 380. My name, my date, my breath caught as I pulled it out. Inside, a typed memo. Subject DMC poses reputational risk due to potential non-conforming alliance. Recommend preventative interference to preserve family trajectory. There was more. A second page. Legalese. Government letterhead. At the bottom, a signature. My father's. Above it, cooperation confirmed. The world tipped sideways. He hadn't just known. He'd offered me up to protect the name, the firm, the illusion. At the back of the folder, something taped. A photo, black and white, grainy. My father, mid-handshake, with a man in a gray trench coat. Same posture, same stillness as the man who'd watched me from across the street. I sat back, the folder trembling in my lap. This wasn't about love. Not to them. It was about legacy, power, control. And Gloria, bless her brave, battered heart, had threatened all of it. So they buried her. And now, maybe, they were trying to bury me too. I found Ellis at the cemetery. He stood near Gloria's plot, hands in pockets, shoulders hunched like the October wind had something personal against him. I handed him the photo without a word. He studied it, slowly, carefully, then stiffened. "Howard Langston," he muttered. "I'll be damned." "You know him?" "He's not easy to forget," Ellis said, voice tightening. "Worked for the Ethics Committee in D.C., took down judges, senators, made people vanish without fanfare. Whispers said he ran cleanup for high-value reputations." My mouth went dry. "Did he know Gloria?" Ellis nodded once. "Not directly. But after she vanished, he showed up to a charity board she'd once served on, pressured them to disband, threatened audits. It folded within the month." I sat on the bench beside the graves. Why would he do all this? Ellis glanced at me. "You're rattling old bones, and they don't like noise." "Is he still alive?" "Last I heard, he lives off-grid, but I know someone who might know. I'll make a call." I nodded. "Thank you." We stood in silence for a long time. Then I went home. The mailbox held another envelope. No address. Just my name. Inside, a photo of Marin, taken from across the street. She's walking toward her door, purse on one arm, keys in hand. On the back, typed, "She talks, she disappears." I stood there on the porch, wind pushing at the hem of my coat. This wasn't just legacy anymore. It was a warning. "I'm not leaving you alone again," I said, clutching the photo with Marin's face on it. She didn't argue. 20 minutes later, she had a duffel bag packed and her cat in a carrier. We drove through the back roads, no headlights for the first 5 miles. Ellis had arranged a place, an old cabin used by traveling pastors, under a name that wasn't mine. The porch light buzzed like it had a secret to tell. Inside, the walls creaked, but the fireplace worked, and for a moment we breathed. We replayed the tape, the same one. Confession, 3/5/80. But this time, we listened for things between the lines. Then we heard it. "If I make it to the 6th, the handoff will be complete. The envelope's in the blue hymnal. It's all I can do." I sat upright. The blue hymnal. She left it behind. "In the choir room?" Marin asked. I nodded. It was her favorite. She wrote notes in the margins like prayers no one was supposed to hear. "I'll go with you," she said. "No, let me go at sunrise. If someone's watching, we can't both vanish." She didn't like it, but she didn't fight me. We were laying out blankets when she said, "Hold on." She reached under the cabin couch cushion and pulled something out. An old church bulletin, dated March 1980, corners curled, faded ink. She turned it over. One line, written in red. "Langston knows about Thursday." The words buzzed in the air like an electric fence, and suddenly, the cabin didn't feel so hidden anymore. The parking lot was still wet from last night's rain. I parked 2 streets over and walked the rest of the way, my coat zipped, scarf pulled high. Not to hide, just to feel held. Inside, the church smelled like lemon oil and memory. I moved quickly to the choir room, shoes soft on the old linoleum. The shelf was still there. The bottom row sagged slightly in the middle. I crouched down and ran my fingers along the backs of the hymnals. Blue, blue, blue. Then one with frayed edges, a tiny cross etched in silver ink. I pulled it free. It opened with a tired sigh. Tucked inside, just past hymn 147, was a folded envelope. Aged, yellowed, unsealed. I slipped it out and unfolded the single page. Typed. Clean. Brutal. Statement of interference regarding Cantrell/Henley engagement, March 1980. It named names. Langston. My father. 2 others I didn't recognize, one from the State Bar, the other from the Office of Family Services. It detailed surveillance, coercion, threats. At the bottom, a signature in blue ink, Gloria May Cantrell, notarized. My throat closed. This wasn't just love, it was evidence. And someone had buried it. I stood, clutching the page, ready to run. When the side door creaked open, footsteps, deliberate, slow. Then a voice. "Don't move, Doris." I turned. A man in a dark coat stood just inside the door. Older now, but the same jaw, the same eyes. Langston. "I've been waiting for you to open that book," he said, and stepped inside. Langston stepped into the choir room like he owned the walls, his coat barely stirred, hands clasped behind his back. "You don't need to read that," he said, nodding toward the page in my hand. "Funny," I said, backing a step. "You wouldn't be here if I didn't." His expression didn't change, but his eyes hardened. "That document is a misunderstanding. A relic, best kept among professionals." I slipped the page behind me, spine pressed to the piano. "You're not here for professional courtesy, Mr. Langston," he sighed. "No, I'm here because the people who protected you once are mostly dead or disinterested, and this story, your little romance, your secrets, still has teeth." My stomach twisted. "You targeted Gloria," I said. He tilted his head. "No, we targeted you. She was the lever. You were the machine." He took a step closer. "Your father tried to spare you. Gave us just enough to cool the story. But now, you wave that paper around, you won't just ruin reputations. You'll undo everything he protected." "And if I don't?" I asked. "Then you live quiet, safe. You bury it again." A beat passed. Then, footsteps. Ellis appeared in the door, holding up a phone. "She's not alone," he said, "and this is being recorded." Langston froze. For the first time, something slipped in his face. He looked at me, looked at Ellis, then turned and walked out. No threats, no goodbyes, just the soft click of the side door closing. I exhaled, knees buckling as I slid onto the bench, the document still warm in my hand. We had proof now, and every reason to be afraid. Lena Givens looked exactly like the kind of woman who'd outlived 3 newsroom buyouts and a few bad marriages. Sharp eyes, soft voice, steel spine. She read the document once, then again. "This isn't just a scandal," she said. "It's a rot that runs deep." Ellis leaned forward. "You can prove it?" She nodded. "I'll try. But publishing this won't protect you. It'll spotlight you." We left her office, heavy with that truth. Back at the cabin, something felt wrong the second I stepped inside. Quiet, but not still. "Marin?" I called. No answer. Her keys were on the counter, her phone on the table. The door had been unlocked. In the center of the living room, one of Gloria's cassette tapes sat on the rug. No label. I put it in the player, hands cold. It was blank, just static. Until the end. Gloria's voice faint. She didn't leave on her own. My stomach turned. In Marin's room, I searched until I found it, taped to the back of the mirror. A note. Printed. "Trade the tape for the girl." I dropped to the floor, knees hitting hardwood. They'd taken her, and they knew exactly how to bait me. "I need more time," I told Lena, voice shaking. She folded her hands. "They've taken someone. That means they're scared. That means we strike. Please, 48 hours. I'll bring you everything." She paused, then nodded once. 48, no more." I drove straight to the Biloxi Motel. Room 6 was quiet. The tenant gone, curtains drawn. I let myself in. It still smelled like dust and damp carpet, but something felt off. I dropped to my knees and reached under the bed frame. A hollow thud. One board lifted easier than the rest. Beneath it, a velvet pouch. Inside, a small brass key and a slip of paper, creased and brittle. Mailbox 9W, Depot Street. Depot Street was lined with abandoned storefronts and a half-buried post office, boarded since Katrina. I broke a back window, climbed in. Box 9W was in the far corner, rusted but intact. The key turned. Inside, a USB drive. Back at the cabin, I plugged it into my old laptop. Grainy black and white video loaded. Time-stamped March 8, 1980. Gloria, hair pinned, eyes swollen, crying, a voice off camera. "Langston, tell us who helped you. Who else knew?" She shook her head. "No one. Just me. It was love, not conspiracy." Silence. Then static. Then darkness. I closed the laptop, chest tight. This wasn't just surveillance. This was a confession extracted under duress. And now, finally, I had it. I dressed in layers. The USB drive went in my coat pocket. The duplicate, smaller, lighter, slipped into my boot, just under the insole. I left a note taped to Lena's door. "If I don't return by sunrise, release everything." The chapel was skeletal. Pews warped, stained glass missing whole panels. Moonlight leaked through the rafters like it had nowhere else to go. Marin was tied to the front pew. Her eyes locked on mine, alive. Langston stepped out of the shadows. Beside him, a younger man, jacket zipped, eyes sharp as glass. "You brought it?" Langston asked. I nodded, held out the USB. He took it, smiling faintly. "You always did have good instincts. Pity they weren't for sale." The younger man raised a gun. "End this," he muttered. But before the shot, the door burst open. Ellis, Lena, and behind them, blue uniforms, drawn weapons, shouts. Langston didn't flinch. He just turned to me, resigned. "You were never meant to make it this far," he said, then raised both hands. Surrender, but not defeat. And in that moment I knew this wasn't the final page. It was the first one they never wanted written. The house was quiet. Marin slept upstairs. Ellis was out walking the dog. I sat by the window, the final tape in my lap. No label, no year. Just Gloria's handwriting across the spine, curved and certain. I slid it into the player, pressed play, static, then breath, then her voice. "If you're hearing this, you made it. I want that to mean something." I closed my eyes. I spent years folding my love for you into corners, tucking it into hymnals, grocery lists, things no one would think to burn. I pressed my hand to my chest. "I'm sorry I didn't wait. I just wanted to give you a future, even if it didn't have me in it." Her voice wavered. "But if you're still listening, maybe there's still time to live out loud. Even a little." The tape ended with a soft click. I stayed there, unmoving, until my tears dried on my cheeks. Then I opened the case again. Inside, tucked in the hinge, a slip of paper. A phone number, faded, scribbled, below it. Try again, just once. I stared at it for a long time. Then I picked up my phone. My hands shook. I dialed. It rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Then, "Hello?" A woman's voice, steady, familiar. My heart stopped. "Gloria?" I whispered. Silence. Then, "Doris? Are you safe?" I asked. The line buzzed gently. Then, "I am now." We spoke for hours, stopping, starting, breathing through old scars. Gloria told me everything. After the last attempt to silence her, the DOJ made a deal. Disappear, testify quietly, then vanish for good. She did. "I wanted to call," she said, "every day, but silence was the cost of your safety." I understood now, but understanding didn't dim the ache. "I still kept the scarf," I said, "the red one you gave me in '79. "I remember. You said it made you brave." It still did. We agreed to meet, midway between our towns, at a quiet cafe with a porch and good coffee. I wore the scarf. She walked in just past 9. Her hair was silver, her gait slower, but her smile was exactly the same. We didn't cry, we just sat. 2 mugs, 2 hands resting near each other, and finally, after decades, we got to be real in the daylight. Later, I left Lena one last envelope. Inside, the USB, the statement, the tapes, and a note. "Print it, all of it. Let them know love didn't just survive. It won." Outside, Gloria waited. We walked down the sidewalk. No hiding, no fear, just mourning.